Homes are staying less and less days on the market due to people being outbidded by wealthy investors, due to label shortages, and it's really hard for people to compete on the house. Now I want to show you guys Glenn Kelman. His brokerage has like the most all the data on the housing market. And recently he went on CNBC and he said a lot of interesting things.
Glenn, great to speak with you this morning. Does that sound about right to you, that we're going to see another strong year in terms of home price gains here in the U.S.?
It feels a little strong to me, actually. I don't know where they got that prediction because it is such a wild time in the housing market right now. So on one hand, you have these crazy bidding wars with investors bidding up homes 10, 20% right now. And on the other hand, you have mortgage interest rates shooting through the roof, website traffic stepping back, tours stepping back. So it's really hard to make a call for the year.
Wow. Okay, so when you see that step back, do you see that as a sign of rising rates and the fact that affordability has sort of jumped through the roof and many first-time home buyers and other types of home buyers have been priced out of this market, or is it something else?
No, it's exactly that. So if you look at the average mortgage payment over the past year, it's up a whopping 23%. So to increase that much in 12 months, it's just crazy. Now, of course, some of that is being offset by the fact that people are moving from California to Oklahoma.
Now, Glenn is right with the affordability. Inflation has risen up a lot of prices, food prices, gas prices, and now not to mention that the wages haven't even been caught up to rent prices. Wages have been risen up to went up to 5%. Rent had went up to 17.8%. So the wages are not even caught up. People are in a net loss from before pandemic. And a lot of people are actually being forced to buy a home because the rent is so expensive. A lot of people say, oh, just rent, just rent, just rent. But you understand people have different circumstances. Some people just have to rent just to get the lower mortgage payment. And plus these interest rates are low. Historically, I think it's like 5 to 6%. So I imagine interest rates are going to rise up just because of what the feds have did. And it's going to kind of like die down, kind of like how the mortgage applications decrease. Granted, some of them are refinances, but some of them are actually normal mortgage applications that decrease because these people are probably no longer qualified for these homes, which will take a good amount of buyers out of the market. But it's still going to have that, that inventory shortage.
So even if prices rise in Oklahoma, it still seems like a cheap house to them. But nonetheless, it's a bit of a shock. And so investors are really putting the heat on consumers who are just trying to find a place to live.
So as we have these conversations about affordability, about inventory shortages, about inflation, does it feel, and a Fed tightening in the midst of all of this, does it feel to you like housing is poised to take a leg lower?
I think that's too strong, too. It feels to me like prices will stay fairly strong. They're not going up 10%, in my opinion. Maybe they'll go up 5%, but I don't think they'll actually take a step down. You're going to see a slight increase in foreclosures because the moratorium has been lifted, but that is off ridiculously low levels. Most people are not over their skis. We're not going to see a bunch of distressed inventory hit the market.
Now, Glenn was right about the whole forbearance moratorium. My bad, I cannot say that for my life. But there has been like a 700% increase in foreclosures. And these people prior to the moratorium were already delinquent, like already in delinquent payments. They wasn't even really making payments on their loan. They was probably already defaulting before that. But, the pandemic came and saved them. So now it was just like a delayed onset. So now all these people that were in forbearance, or there's also people that now have economic hardships and can't pay back their mortgage loan. So there might be a good amount of foreclosures. But what I think was going to happen is some people might see that as a good thing. But it's kind of like useless because those foreclosures are going to be bidded up high on the market anyway, because these wealthy investors are going to get a bargain price. They're going to see it and they're going to probably bid it up to regular housing prices despite it being a foreclosure.
So I still think we'll be supply constrained at least through the first half of the year.
So, Glenn, it's David. Then what are the metrics? What are the things you keep the closest eye on that might change your opinion in terms of what we can expect for the rest of the year?
Well, one is the percentage of homes that are selling to investors. So that's at 19% when typically it's around 12%.
That 19% roughly equivalates to 20 million homes, and a good amount of them are mom and pop investors.
So investor activity remains really high. Obviously, we look at inventory, which is down 50% compared to pre-pandemic levels. And then we look at interest rates and affordability, where rates have popped about 50 to 100 basis points, which really affects people's ability to pay that mortgage. Maybe the last factor is rent. Normally, when homes get really expensive, more people rent, but those two are going up in lockstep. So rent is up about 15%. And so you've got this conundrum that there's nowhere for people to live. And that means that the for sale market is probably still going to be strong. I'm just one step not as strong as, I think, Bank of America, whoever you quoted at the beginning of the segment.
Glenn just confirmed my suspicions. It's way cheaper to get a mortgage in this market than to rent. And a lot of people are seeing this and they're like, well, I don't know if I can keep affording this with this rent. Rent is constantly going up. Maybe I just need to get a house because I can't afford my rent no more. If I can get a mortgage payment, especially with these low interest rates, my mortgage payment wouldn't be as high. Granted, I'm not going to get the best house that I wanted, but it's based off survivability. People can't keep up with this. There's too much inflation, net losses, all this stuff. Well, that's going to be it for this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe.